evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. The countdown to elections 2017 has begun with the poll panel announcing election dates in 5 states. But already there are several questions being raised with polling dates extending from February 4th to March 8th. Will the centre's decision to advance the budget date to 1st February now be reviewed? Will the decision to hold elections on the same day in Punjab and Goa make it disadvantage Aam Aadmi Party? Will the 7-phase-long UP polls make it a level playing field even for parties like the SP currently in disarray? Will it in fact give it time to stitch up a coalition it desperately needs? And with the Election Commission announcing all poll expenses above 20,000 rupees now have to be paid by cheque, will this be the cleanest election yet, or is enforcement going to be the big challenge? And of course, the big D, will demonetization be the determining factor when it comes to contesting and winning these assembly elections? Now, those are just some of the themes and issues we're going to try and ambitiously cover in the next half hour or so. But first, to get you the big story of the day, the Election Commission has announced the dates of elections in 5 states. Let's just get those dates up for you. UP, of course, the big focus with its 403 seats. Voting will take place on 7 separate days, the 11th of February, the 15th of February, the 19th of February, the 23rd, and then the 27th. And it extends to the 4th of March and the 8th of March. Goa with 40 constituencies and Punjab with 117 seats will vote on the same day, that's on the 4th of February. Uttarakhand with its 70 seats voting on the 15th of February. Manipur with 60 seats voting in 2 phases on the 4th and 8th of March, and counting for all states, of course, on the 11th of March. But joining us on our big discussion tonight, Siddharth Nath Singh from the BJP. We're also being joined by Madhukar Jaitley, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Here in the studio, I have with me Pawan Khera from the Congress and senior journalist Aarti Jerat. Naresh Gujral from the Shiromani Akali Dal also joining us tonight. Now, let me begin, of course, with the budget question. And Siddharth Nath Singh, I want you to come in on this. Voting will now take place, will begin less than 72 hours after the budget. The opposition, the Congress primarily, but also some other parties now saying that this is going to be a serious concern for them. The government at this point doesn't seem willing to budge. Is this going to be a factor going ahead?
Let's understand there are 2 things to it. One, I will presume, and but my first answer would be it's something which was debated and agreed by all parties, and this is much ahead before the election dates have been announced. There was always a question that particularly related to UP, because UP votes were to be held, and that date was always at the discretion of the government of the day. But the UP board's dates have been extended after the Election Commission requested them. So it was always a question mark whether the elections will be held in February or it can go to March end or April, particularly related to UP. Out of 690 seats, it's 403 seats are from UP. And since the UP always had an option to form a next government somewhere in middle of May, I think it's 22nd or 27th of May. So that option was always open. So therefore, to speculate now is something which is an afterthought. Now, coming on a speculative or presumptive, I would like to say is, 5 years these government, whether it is in Uttarakhand of Congress and Samajwadi Party in UP, they got 5 years to work for the people.
Okay.
To develop a track record so that they can go into an election. Okay. Now they think by one day, let's presume that it gives the BJP the advantage, that is 1st of February, in one day we can manage and turn around the entire election.
All right, fair point. Pawan Khera, I think this is an important point that's being raised. State elections are fought on state issues. The governments in power have had 5 years to prove their track records. Why make a fuss now or raise questions about whether this is 3 days after the budget or not?
Because this election would be an assessment and a verdict on demonetization, and the Prime Minister looks very, very nervous after what he has done. The speech on the 31st, the SOPs offered on the 31st, the budget would only be a continuing exercise of offering those SOPs. and well, they can definitely mislead the voters. They can tempt the voters through that. 5 years, whichever government has done whatever work can be undone by these SOPs. After all, they are the government of India. And after all, this Prime Minister does not respect institutions, as we have seen in the last 2.5 years.
Aarti, come in on this, because there are those who could equally say that the Prime Minister's New Year Eve speech has already announced a fair bit of SOPs, which seem to be aimed at easing the pain of demonetization, as it were.
Well, you know, if the Prime Minister wanted to announce a big game-changer SOP for the elections, he could have done it on New Year's Eve. I mean, that was the address I think the whole country was waiting for, and they expected some big bang announcement from the Prime Minister, which never came. He just offered some, you know, sort of small SOPs here and there, mostly actually repackaged existing schemes and, you know, sort of benefits. And frankly, I think voters in India are very intelligent, they're very smart, they've become quite mature, they have their heads squarely on their shoulders when they go out to vote. I don't think a few SOPs here and there in a budget are going to sway them from the decision that they're going to make. Unless, of course, the budget is really make some big bang announcement, which I don't think likely, because the Prime Minister could have done it on New Year's Eve. However, I would like to say one thing, that, you know, considering that some 100 MPs will be involved in campaigning for these elections, after all, these are big elections.
Yes.
You know, to have a parliament that is about, you know, 20% empty,
yes,
through a crucial budget session,
that's a very fair
I
point.
don't think is a particularly good
Right.
idea.
Right.
So, you know, not because it gives the opportunity for the Prime Minister to announce SOPs through the budget, but because
It's
you
going
should
to
have
encourage
a full house.
absenteeism
That's
in
right.
Parliament.
You should have a full house in Parliament.
Right.
As it is, there's so much criticism that Parliament doesn't function. So I think
Naresh
just
Gujral,
on that point,
would you agree with the point that Aarti Jairath is making, that this isn't just about announcing SOPs ahead of the elections, but why have Parliament's budget session at a time when so many people will be out campaigning, will be out on the field?
This country is perpetually in election mode. Sometimes it's assembly, sometimes it's panchayat, sometimes it's municipal elections. So I don't think that should really be a factor. And this government made it very clear that they want to advance the date of the budget because they want the states to spend the money that are sanctioned. So I don't think there should be a controversy about that.
Madhukar Jaitley, would you want to come in on this? Because the Samajwadi Party has also gone on record today to say that this is something that they oppose as well.
Since the moral code of conduct has been launched now today, ethically the government of India should not announce anything, any SOPs during the parliament session which is going on with relation to the 5 states that are going to polls. And neither could the Prime Minister, who was in Lucknow 2 days ago, during addressing his rally in Lucknow, could not give any benefits of demonetization which he has been talking about in the last 1.5 months. So he could not present before the people of the state, whom he tried to project that they are people of UP. They were brought in from other states, neighboring states, from Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Haryana. The problem is that the Prime Minister should not now try to bring in any kind of attempts to influence the voters during the parliament session, which will be definitely unethical for the ruling party in the government of India.